Chair.
Stuart Nash.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As we've spoken about numerous times, my colleagues and those on the other side of the House, this is a piece of legislation that we all support. But I think we need to ask, why this legislation needs to be amended so soon after it was first introduced. Well, I think as my colleague Leanne Dalzell highlighted, this was on the legislative agenda that the Labor Party really wanted to push through before the election, because Ms Dalzell knew that if it didn't go through before the election, then nothing would be done for quite a long time. And this was an area, I think, Mr. Chair, that the vast majority of Kiwis were looking to Parliament for direction. This was not a contentious bill at all, Mr. Chair. This was a bill, I think, born out of the recognition that so many ordinary Kiwis had been let down by a sector that they were not expecting it to. And I gave a couple of analogies in my speech in the second reading, and I'll return to those. When you're seeking legal advice, or when you want legal advice, you'll go to a lawyer. Now, to practice as a lawyer, you've got to have a law degree, you've got to be admitted to the bar, and if you make a mistake as a lawyer, or if you're involved in negligence or incompetence, then you go to a law committee, and there's a whole lot of checks and balances in place that ensure that the public are well served by the law profession. Excuse me. The same is also the case if you want to talk to an accountant, Mr. Chair. You go to an accountancy firm, you speak to a qualified accountant, and you get good advice from the accounting profession. And if in fact you don't get good advice, or you feel that you've been let down, or the advice has been incompetent, there are ways and means for the public to go to the professional body and get redress. But with financial services sector, Mr. Chair, this was completely different. And people used to joke about this, and if it wasn't such a serious issue for the vast majority of New Zealanders, and more so for a targeted lot who have actually lost everything, then it would be quite humorous. And people used to say, well, there's no work in the building industry, so I'll become a financial advisor. And it was a bit of a joke. And what happened is we saw the growth of an industry where people with no qualifications, no experience whatsoever, would tout themselves as financial advisors. And the thing about New Zealanders is we have a bit of a DIY attitude to investment. But what we do is we talk to our mates, or we read in the paper, and we think we know how to invest our money well. Occasionally we will go to a financial advisor, or if we don't know anything about it, we will go to someone who touts himself as a financial advisor. Now, to me, for example, a financial advisor should be able to provide you with sound financial advice on what you should do or where you should invest your money. Now, without any rules or regulations, or without any requirements for qualifications or any professional body, it sends off alarm bells. But of course, for the vast majority of New Zealanders, how were they to know any better? They weren't. A financial advisor was out there to advise them what to do. So the reason I come back to the question, why does this legislation need to be amended? Well, Ms Dalzell wanted this legislation to be passed because it needed to be passed. The building blocks of sound prudential regulation needed to be put in place, because if they weren't done before the election, it would take quite a while after the election. And Commerce Minister Simon Power claims that this new legislation that we're doing now will actually reduce costs and encourage public confidence back into the industry. I say it'll take a while. It will take a while before the public once again has confidence in this industry, because we all know someone, and we have all read the stories about people who have been burnt. But this is a very good, the bills in 2008 were a very good first step, and this is a very good second step. The bill basically consists of technical amendments designed to ensure that the new regulatory regime can be implemented efficiently and consistently, within existing policy frameworks. So it just builds on what's already in place, which is, of course, is what a lot of legislation does, but this does it in a very positive way. And I'll give you one example. According to Bruce Kerr, who's the Executive Director of Workplace Savings New Zealand, this bill will offer more certainty to employers to assist their employees with retirement savings arrangements. Now, you may ask, why is that? Well, an employer who if an employee comes to an employer and says, well, where should I invest my retirement savings? The employer now, I believe, can say with confidence, here are some sound financial advisors. You can have confidence in these people, and you can have confidence in the industry. So it's a whole flow-through process. Mr Kerr had been concerned that employers who make retirement savings arrangements available to their employees Through the workplace, we're going to be caught by the definition of a financial service provider. But this bill avoids this difficulty. So it takes out a lot of those anomalies which often do occur when legislation is put through, not under urgency, but in a hurry to fill a hole, to fill a gap. Mr.
Sam Pisata, Sam Loto E.
Thank you.